Hello everybody, Walter here. Welcome to this episode of Oxygen Not Included Let's Play series with the Space Dot DLC. In the previous episode, we finally finished building the walk-in freezer for our kitchen to keep our food fresh from now on. And at the end, we also started digging towards an entire lake of molten gold, which promises to be rather useful for many future projects. But first, we'll need to get our hands on it without boiling our entire colony. So let's jump back into our colony and do just that. And here we are. Now before I start working on extracting all that gold, there are a few things I need to straighten out with the hatches. The first of which is that I completely forgot to activate the hatch range here for the smooth hatches. One of which has already been running around for 14 cycles. So let me very quickly rectify this. While I'm here, let's also make sure they are put into the drowning chamber if not needed. Closet Records 2, that should be all here. Now, I'm also going to switch the diet from copper ore to iron ore, since I will need some iron for steel pretty soon. That way I won't have to do this manually. Also for steel I'm going to need refined carbon, so let me just make another maybe 5 tons or so. That should be enough. Next up we have this ranch here, and you can see those stone hatches here are all crowded because in the previous episode I placed those 2 tiles, which decreases the size of the stable here, and now they don't have enough space. The simplest way to deal with that is, I think, just moving this up and then getting rid of this setup here. And now the crowded status is gone again, so we are now getting some more stone hatchling eggs out of this ranch here. Unfortunately, I did notice this in quite a few cycles, so we are down to about half of the stone hatchlings. Which means that we will have a bit of a food problem in 10 to 15 cycles, I suspect. So let me quickly see. We have a quick fix with some frost buns. I'm just going to make 30 frost buns of that. And once it's in there, that should no longer be an issue. We also got our first iron from those smooth hatches here, which is also quite nice. Very, very useful and indeed. And that brings me to the next part, which is steel production. So let's have a look at the metal refinery. I'm not going to need any more copper for now, but as I said, I'm going to need steel. Let's start with maybe 5 tons and maybe a ton of iron just to get going. We also need some coolant, which is likely because, the water level is too low. So I'm just going to move this pump maybe down to, let's say, here. And while I'm at it, I'm also going to move the gas pump down to, I think, down here. And that's already looking much better. We are now getting coolant for our steel production. So, and we are also already pumping out the gases from below here. So that is all working quite nicely. Next up, let me actually remove this little digging order here. We are going to make use of that later on. But now it's time to think about getting, for one, the gold out of this, but also getting rid of this atmosphere here so I can then start building a proper thema for those 2 volcanoes here. And I'm going to start on the atmosphere since this will take a bit longer. And the first step is actually making a little evacuated enclosure here to the side, somewhere where I have a nice flat surface on the inside of this area here. And I think I'm going to build it just right here. So let me quickly make a little box that should actually be big enough, I think. Yeah, that should be definitely big enough. I'm also going to have a way for my tubes to get in, so I'm going to need a liquid lock, and this will also run double duty as a cooling system for a gas pump later on. Let me see, furniture, pedestal, let me put that up there, there. And then those 2 need to be kept open. And now I first have to wait until all of this here is built. And while I'm doing that, let's actually have a look what we can print. As I said, I have a bit of a problem with the food production currently. So let's go just for the non-dupe here. And while I'm there, let's actually have a look at the skills, because I have 2 dupes which are relatively new. Otto here, he gets a bit further in his main job, and Lindsay. Lindsay is our second or third critter rancher. Yeah, that looks good. So as I said, this now needs to be built. I also need to make sure this is being built and closed properly. And once I have some naphtha in here and everything is built, I can start on simply evacuating this with a pump. Just like this here. So you can see now I have a vacuum in there. I also added a manual airlock since the gas pump was actually pumping out gas from the outside, which was not optimal. But now we can start working on the inside. So we are going to need some mechanized airlocks, and I need at least iron. Preferably I would use steel, but I don't have enough right now, so I'm going with iron. And we have high stress. Let me quickly have a look. This is likely ruby again, but I still have the message table, so this is not an issue. But as I was saying, I am going to need a couple mechanized airlocks for my door crusher. And for now, I'm just going to place them all the way until they are next to the pump. I'm also going to need some automation wire. Again, preferably steel. Let's go with iron. So I need to connect these here. And this one here is another setup. Then we need signal switches and we need a timer sensor. Yeah, that looks good. Now we also need to dig out a bit more over here so this can all be reached. And with all of these doors built and this timer sensor set to all red, I can build my last door here with the corresponding automation wire. And as you can see here, I'm actually adding another liquid lock here on the outside, since my tubes sometimes have a breather on top of this liquid naphtha here, which, as you can see here, brings carbon dioxide in here, which is not really appreciated. So this is now being built. And then we're getting to the last step, which is enclosing the entire thing in tiles. And for that, I'm going to use igneous rock. And do I want insulated tiles? Yeah, let's go with insulated tiles. Igneous rock, and then just enclosing this and the same on this side here. And with the last few tiles now in place, it's time to start this up. So this one here will remain closed until I'm down to maybe a gram or so per tile. At which point I'm just going to open everything and will just pump it out. At that point, I shouldn't be in danger of overheating the pump. But until that point, we are going to use this door crusher here. I'm going with a green duration of maybe 10 and red of 5 seconds. And here you can already see how this works. Those doors open. Then in this case, hydrogen starts to get in here. And at some point, those doors here close again and completely delete everything in here. And around half of what is inside of this mechanized airlock, if I remember correctly. And that way I can reduce the gases here without having to worry about a gas pump overheating. So that can now run in the background. Next up is the gold tab. And I'm essentially just going with a straight chute, which is going along this line here. And down here I will cool it down, the molten gold, until it solidifies via this water here, but also this frozen biome on this side here. The first thing I need to do is, at the bottom, I need some metal tiles for maximum heat exchange, and I think I'm going to place them like this here. Yeah, I'm going to place them like this. And for now, I'm just going to dig in this kind of area so I have a nice contact over into all of this ice here. And can put all of the heat from the ice into this kind of area here. Furthermore, I'm going to need insulated tiles here. I'm also going to need an airlock again, or liquid lock. So I'm going to place it like that. And if I place just a few tiles here, I can later on have a vacuum in there without having to actually pump out any gases. And half a cycle later, this is looking already much better. Now, next up are a couple mesh tiles, which need to be put inside of this area here. And we also need to dig down and also up. And I don't want to have all of these tons of molten gold going down here, which might overwhelm the cooling system down there. So I'm thinking I'm often going around the corner a bit. So maybe like this, then up and then around. That should work. Then obviously I'm going to need some ladders. And the first should be maybe here, then one there, and one there. And we're also going to need to make this an insulated tile, highest priority, before this one is dug out, so we don't spoil our vacuum on the inside here. And just to be on the safe side, I actually decided to add a temp shift plate out of diamond here, because I don't want any of the gold to accumulate up here. I want it to immediately solidify and get turned into solid gold. Yeah, and that's a wrap. So now last part is digging out this tile here and then those tiles here at the top. And once that is done, we should very quickly see how this here is supposed to work. Any second now. And we might get a bit heated up, but you can already see how this is working here. So the idea here is when the gold falls down here, it lands inside of this mesh tile here, gets cooled down immediately and solidifies. And when it does that inside of a mesh tile, it tries to find an area around it where it can actually solidify outside of a tile, which in this case is just this corner here. And that's the reason why it starts to accumulate here on the side. So very, very nice. And let's actually add this to our overview so we have an idea how much gold we are getting out of this. And you can see this is getting very toasty, which is the reason I added the temp shift plate here beforehand. And also why I'm using this here as a better cooling system. And get out of there, Ruby. Do I have a healing solution for my dupes? Currently not, so let's very quickly set one up. Trash cot. Let's just place 2 here just to be on the safe side. So Ruby gets healed a bit faster. And you can see the heat is being transferred already into the water and also over here into the ice, which is already melting quite a lot, and we have already some steam in there. So yeah, there is a lot of heat being transferred right now, but once these reservoirs here have been emptied a bit, we are getting slower here. Yeah, you can already see how this is working. Yeah, oh, we have already some steam in here. Yeah, this is a lot of heat that was transferred into my base right now, but that should rectify itself very quickly. So, anyway, as I said, this is now 65 tons of gold we can work with, although, as you can see, it's still very, very hot gold, so yeah, that's a thing to keep in mind. And we have already removed pretty much all of the hydrogen, and the chlorine is already quite low, which is very nice, but we are still not low enough for this to make much sense to continue on with the gas pump. So let's have a look what we can do next. After a little bit of thinking, I suspect it's a good point to start with more research. So let me quickly build some research stations. I'm starting with a virtual planetarium, which is for the tier 4 research. We won't do that right now, but I'll place it anyway. We're also going to need a material studies terminal for the tier 3. Those need to be above tiles, and obviously they need some power. The material study terminal also needs a source of red balls, which need a radiation source. Unfortunately, we have Wizard as a nice source for radiation. So I'm just going to place a few farm tiles, maybe. Yeah, let's put them here with a bit of a distance since they produce radiation. I don't want my dupes to be inside of that while they are working on the terminal. I'm going to need a red ball generator and then some deflectors to just move that red ball over to the proper point. And this also needs some power and some automation because I want to be able to turn this off. I could also connect it to the output of the terminal here, so it only runs when the terminal needs rat balls. But that way I have a bit more control manually. So that's all nice. This now needs to be built. I'm also going to need wheat, and I think I currently don't have any wart seeds. No, I don't have any, so let me quickly have a look. Where can I get some from? I have two down here. Don't need to do much digging for those. So I'm just going to dig... maybe not that way. I'm just going to need to dig those two out, and then just need to dig over like so. Yeah, that looks good. Let's just make sure the priority is set properly. Yeah, that's looking good. Those are two. I need one more. I could dig up here, or I could dig up here. I will go over here, since I'm going to need to dig out this area here for a later project anyway. So let me just dig up here and then over there. So with that, I should have now all the wheat I'm going to need. This one here on the right should be dug out. Yep. So I can get the wheat in here. So let me very quickly choose the wheat, high priority, and same setting for these here. Now I also need to make the directions of these reflectors. Yeah, that should work. I can also get rid of this setup while I'm here. It's not needed at all. Completely superfluous. And yeah. And it still needs some fertilization. Yeah. So, with that out of the way, we can choose what we are researching next. I'm going to need the steam turbine for the tamer for my volcanoes first. So let's go for that right now. And obviously I also need to make sure that Max is prioritizing research again. So that should all work quite nicely. Now it's just waiting until those three are in there, and then I should start getting a bit more than just 33 rat balls per cycle. Let's actually make this package of 51. That way I should get a nice 50 or so over in the material studies terminal with each setup. Or maybe 101? Let's go with 101. That's 10 research points. That should be well enough. And now we're getting basically one of those per cycle. Next up on the agenda is upgrading my barracks here to private bedrooms. For that, let's start with this one here, since it's halfway done already. First step is getting rid of the cot and replacing it with a private or a comfy bed. So let's quickly get this done. I'm going with the Grand Prix texture. Doesn't make any difference functionally, but this looks a bit nicer. While I'm here, I'm also getting a bit more of deco value in there with some of those metal blocks. And those corners can be filled in with some corner trim, just to look a bit nicer. And now we still need the background to be filled with drywall, and here I'm going with a simple pattern. Let's say I'm going to use the blue one. And once all of this is built, this is then a proper bedroom. Although we are already at the luxury barracks, but in just a few seconds we will have an actual private bedroom with a +3 model. And obviously the same change needs to happen to all of the other bedrooms. Now, as you can see, there is also some carbon dioxide, which has been accumulating down here since I forgot to actually make a way for it to get out. So let's just put some airflow tiles down there. The next step is getting some natural tiles in here, because I want to turn those two rooms here into natural reserves, which again gives my dupes a bit of a bonus tomorrow. For that, I'm going to use the manual airlock trick again, and I'm going to need the 4 natural tiles in the positions marked as shown here. Obviously, I will have to do this piece by piece, since I need to enclose them completely in tiles, and if I'm not careful, I would have my dupes being not able to get in or out of all of this. So this will take a little while, but for the most part this is going quite nicely. And you can see we have our first private bedroom right down there already. And after a little bit of fiddling around, we now have in total 8 copper ore tiles inside of those 2 rooms here. While this was happening, we also finished with our research, so now we have access to the steam turbine, which will become useful quite soon. And now the next step is actually getting a credit drop-off in each of those, so we can put a pip in here, and then we are going to need a storage bin as well. And with the storage bin, we can put in 4 of those bluff briar seeds, and then later on, once we have the pip in there, we can start getting those naturally planted or wild plants in there. And that's just what I was talking about. The cuddle pip has gotten one of those briar seeds here and is now planting it up there. One is already planted down there. And once this one here has been planted, I can remove this ladder here, then place the last one, and then all I need to do is move the cuddle pip down here and do the same once more. And now with all of these plants in place, I need to cool down this area, since as you can see they are all a tiny bit too hot, or well, a lot too hot. Fortunately, I already have an inbuilt cooling system more or less down here with the polluted water at -9 degrees roughly from the cool slush geyser at the bottom of our base. And all I need is essentially just a little loop here with some, let's actually make that out of gold, we have more than enough of that, with some radiant pipes all over the place, and the rest is insulated pipes just going up, over and down again. And then all I need to do is snip this off here, and let's just make sure this is built with highest priority. Okay, this is done pretty soon, and that way we should be able to cool this down here to a decent temperature and get this turned into a proper natural reserve. But for that we are still needing one more thing, and that is under furnitures, the park sign. Come on, park sign. Let's make that out of granite. I'm going to place one, let's say, here, and another one there. Then I'm going to need one more there, and one there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Next, I'm going to add some stations here. And let's also make them out of gold. First, we need the checkpoint. And then we are going to need dogging stations. And 5 in total. Like so. Then we're also going to add a storage bin. Let's actually make this out of granite for decreased deco value. I'm going to need some automation. Again, out of gold, since we have more than enough. And let's connect this to those so we can turn all of these off if required. Then we are also going to need, let's see, wait. No, I'm not going to do it this way. I am actually going to only turn off the primary checkpoint. That is by far enough. So, now with that in there, we need still to connect this to some power. Again, let's use gold here and here. Then it also needs oxygen, which is the reason I have my pipes from the previous episode right below already. And I actually don't need that one. And this should now be all built, but we still need the exosuits for those docks here. So let's have a look. And it seems we can actually make them out of gold. So I think I know what I'm going to do. Let's have a look. Something more to eat. Always nice, although we are pretty good currently when it comes to food. But I need more copper. And I don't want to smelt anymore, but I have a lot of gold lying around. So what I'm going to do is just upgrade my power grid from copper wire to a gold wire. And that should give me enough material to actually make maybe something along the lines of 20 or so of those suits. And while I'm here, I might actually also want to upgrade those here to gold. Each of those is 200 copper. Yeah, that way I should be able to get very quickly done with getting more copper. And a few cycles later, we are still not yet done with upgrading all of our wires, as you can see here. But we already have quite enough copper, I think, to make about 20 of those atmosuits here. So let's get this done. And once they are in there, we can start filling in these here with the highest priority. And then once I have all of these in place, I can start making sure that all of my dupes are running around in atmosuits, which is not only nice once we start getting into more dangerous areas around the map, but it will also help with some of the achievements. So, that is being said, we also need a little bit of a reservoir here. So atmosuits, I'm going to add a full 5 atmosuits here. Same there, let's make the priority high enough so they will be filled in, just to make sure that if for whatever reason my dupes are in here and the atmosuits of all of my dupes are worn out, that I can actually replace them from the inside and don't have to fiddle around with disabling those checkpoints. So those are now being done, that's very nice. Next up, let's have a look at this Great Hall, which currently is not a Great Hall because the bluff prior here is too hot. First, let's remove that one. The same for this one here because I'm going to change this as a whole. I'm first going to move this pneumatic door over. Same for all of this. High priority needs to be done first. And then I'm going to raise this block here. And on top of this block, I'm going to place I believe it's under furniture. Yep, the party foam. Works just the same way as the water cooler, but is just half as big. So, then we have the middle here for some more of these. Let's make them out of gold amalgam. Let's actually switch the others also to gold amalgam. And then we need some deco items in here. And while I'm at it, I might actually want to add some lighting. Maybe here, 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 and here. And then, let's say like so. Yeah, that looks good. Then we are going to need some more deco items. So as you can see, I unlocked a few more deco items with research. So let me quickly put down a couple, maybe like this here. And then, although, let's go a slightly different route. Oh. First, let's add the mess tables. And then the decoration. I am going to need some blank canvas here and here. And I'm going to need this out of gold amalgam. And a couple corner pieces. And here I will later on place, let's see, do I have it? Already unlocked, yeah, the aeropod. Here and here. That looks quite a bit nicer already. I'm not sure what I'm going to put in here actually. Or do I just place maybe... Yeah, that looks a bit better. Then some ceiling crowning or trim or however it's called. And that should deal with all of the decoration we're going to need for a great hall. And that is looking much nicer already. And I almost forgot the wire for all of these ceiling lights, which I also switched to a nicer looking variant. Now, while I'm here, I might also want to add some metal tiles here, just to make it look nicer. This one here can actually be one of these here. I'm using metal tiles because they have a run speed bonus of 50%, and those carpeted tiles have a run speed debuff of minus 25%. So I try to put those tiles here where my dupes are running all the time, and where they are just looking at, I'm going to use those carpeted tiles, which should be just like this here, and then let's put this at the top there. Yeah, that's looking quite a bit nicer already. So this now all needs to be built. And we are getting quite a bit ahead with our research. So let's have a look. This is now all being done at the bottom. Let's see. Let's just work our way up. It's not really anything we are waiting for right now. That's not urgent. Do I want to increase? Let's put some plastic letters already in here, since my dupes need to run those at least twice per day, so it's a bit faster. And this is just what I was aiming for. Now I have a nature reserve here with moral plus 6, which is a lot. And all I needed to do is cool down the area around here. I might actually want to now turn at least some of these just into normal tiles, since I don't want to overcool either. So that should be done pretty fast. This is now all being done, so next let's have a look at our kitchen. There are still a few things we can add here. First of all, we can add some metal blocks here and here, just for some more added deco value. Later on, I might want to add. Or do I want to put a painting in there? Oh, well, why not? Let's put a painting in there. Fits nicely in there, so why not? This is also all going quite nicely. We have some more shipping parts. So we have a conveyor meter, which allows us to portionize some materials. Or can I fit this in actually? Yeah, I should be able to fit this in. Yeah. But I think I will do this later point. It's not necessary right now. So anyway, the kitchen is almost done. There is still the gas range missing, which we still need to research, which I might want to aim for pretty soon. But all of this here can run in the background. Now let's have a look finally at our gold. So we are pretty far down with the gas pressure actually. So let's turn this on always. And let's open this one here. And we should see the gas now coming down here and being pumped out. And the pump is not really heating up because it's cooled via this liquid naphtha, which is connecting to this tile here. And while this gas is pretty hot, really hot actually, it's not really a big mass, so it's not transferring as much heat as it could. So now all of this here gets pumped out pretty fast actually, so we won't have to wait for too long. Also, by the way, I added a pneumatic door here, so no tube actually gets in here because they were all the time running to those gold blocks here, and yeah, we're just getting toasted along the way. But anyway, I think this is a good point to stop. We have upgraded quite a bit. We have achieved access to all of this gold, which was accumulated here over the first 100 cycles or so. We are currently almost done with getting out the atmosphere, so we can in the next episode then start working towards actually building a volcano tamer. We have upgraded our barracks to private bedrooms. We are working on adding some atmosuits, And we are also currently upgrading our living quarters, or more precisely our great hall and our kitchen, to be looking a bit nicer. And with that, we've reached the end of this episode here. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a like, share, and comment. It really helps with the algorithm. Independent of that, I wish you all a nice day, and well, see ya!